Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today DICE has released a blog post detailing the new archetypes for Battlefield 5. Now, full disclosure, I was given this information about 24 hours in advance so that I could prepare an overview video for you guys. And of course, first off, what is an archetype? This isn't something we have really been able to explore in the beta, or at least we haven't been able to switch between different archetypes. Technically, there were 2 support archetypes in the alpha, but it wasn't really clear what the differences were aside from a few weapon choices. Archetypes are essentially a set of different abilities that will change minor aspects of how your class performs. You could think of this as a different approach to, say, field upgrades from Battlefield 4, but this time with more interesting abilities instead of just more armor or explosive resistance. So far, DICE has detailed 2 archetypes for each class. Let's begin with the Assault class. You'll start off with the base archetype called Light Infantry. This archetype gives you the Scavenger ability, which allows you to pick up more ammo from downed enemies. And you also get Battle Hardened, which gives you the ability to regenerate a higher amount of health without the use of a med pack. The last I heard was that Battle Hardened made you regen 40 points of health versus the standard 30 points of health that other classes can regen. So basically, this archetype focuses on general survivability and slightly more independence with the ability to regen health and pick up more ammo, so you're not totally reliant on teammates to stay in the fight. Again, this is the default archetype, and it sounds pretty darn good for the Assault class. After playing with the class a bit more, you can unlock the next archetype, which is called Tank Buster. The 2 traits you get with this archetype are Tank Painter and Tank Scrapper. Tank Painter automatically spots vehicles when you damage them. Considering how much the spotting game has been reduced from the previous titles, this actually sounds like a pretty good deal. Hitting a tank with a grenade or rocket will spot it for everyone, including friendly tanks and planes that can assist with destroying that tank. The Tank Scrapper trait rewards you with more requisition points for destroying an enemy vehicle. Requisition points are used for calling in squad reinforcements like the V1 rocket. So basically, if you pick the Tank Buster archetype and you start killing tanks and vehicles, your squad will get more requisition points. I like this concept, but I think DICE needs to extend this trait to damage done to enemy vehicles and not vehicle destroys. Especially considering that you'll now spot vehicles when doing damage to them, the likelihood of destroying a tank that you're the first one to damage is actually pretty low. So rather than awarding requisition points to you only if you destroy a vehicle, they should really be awarded for dealing damage to enemy vehicles. Let's move on to the Medic class. The base archetype here is Field Medic, and it comes with the traits Healer and Swift Effort. Healer gives you additional requisition points when you supply your teammates with medkits, which you'll probably be doing anyway. So basically, if you PTFO, you get additional requisition points for more squad reinforcements. Swift Effort is an interesting trait in that it allows you to sprint faster when you call out to a downed friendly soldier. This trait seems like it could actually be pretty easily abused. Basically, if you see a down friendly player, you can call out to them, I think, with the Q key, and that will let them know that you intend to revive them and that they should hold on for the revive. The potential abuse here, though, is the ability to just call out any down soldier you see just to get a speed boost, regardless of whether or not you actually intend to revive them. I understand what DICE is trying to do here with improving communication and awarding you for it, but the implementation will almost certainly result in a system being used for people to gain an advantage at the expense of false communication. I almost feel like this archetype should just get a base movement speed boost or maybe extra stamina bar for a faster sprint ability that can be used to get around faster to get to down teammates quicker if you need to. That way, calling out to down teammates will in itself be its own reward, whereas they'll hang on longer and you can actually revive them for points. Just my suggestion for achieving essentially the same playstyle without the potential of abuse. The second archetype is the Combat Medic. The first trait is Melee Expert, which allows all your melee attacks to automatically take down enemies. This doesn't sound great and feels more like it's embodying a low-skill environment for the sake of variety or fitting a playstyle. Then the second trait is Emergency Retreat, which allows faster sprint when you're critically wounded. I'm not sure how useful this ability will be in the long run, but I guess the idea is to make this archetype more useful for combat but it doesn't sound particularly appealing to me, and I think DICE could easily come up with some more interesting traits for this one. Like, how about a faster self-heal animation so there's less downtime from healing up, allowing you to fight and be more aggressive in close quarters? That would be kind of an interesting take on this archetype. Moving on to the support class, we have the base archetype of Engineer. The first trait is Vehicle Fixer, which allows you to build and repair even faster than the other support archetypes. Then there is the Heavy Weapons Expert, which allows you to fire stationary and mounted vehicle weapons for a longer duration before they overheat. I actually like this archetype a lot as it makes a great tank gunner or tank support class. Then there is the Machine Gunner archetype, and the first trait is Bullet Storm, which increases your suppression ability. And you might be thinking, well, isn't suppression in the new game just a visual thing now? So why would I want to have better suppression? Well, when it's matched up with the second trait for this archetype, Focused Fire, this trait has you automatically spot your enemies that you have fully suppressed. So basically, you'll suppress faster, and once suppressed, your enemies will become spotted. This archetype sounds pretty darn cool, though it does have the potential for being abused. Shooting randomly into trees, bushes, or even houses could spot out enemies that are perfectly concealed. Couple this with unlimited ammo for the support class, and Battlefield 5 meta could easily turn into support classes shooting everywhere all the time to try and spot out enemies who are well hidden. We will have to see how this plays out in the long run. Lastly, we have the Recon archetypes, the first of which is called Sniper. The first trait of Sniper is called Steady Hands, which allows you to hold your breath for longer periods of time for more accurate fire, basically holding the shift key on PC or a different button on controller. The second trait is Expert Marksman, that further replenishes your ability to hold your scope steady with each headshot that you get. Personally, I think this archetype sounds somewhat useless, at least for PC sniping meta. I'm not sure how the meta is on console, but I'll have to test it out a bit more to confirm. Now, the second archetype is called Pathfinder, and the first trait is called Advanced Scouting, which allows you to spawn on any friendly squad leader and on any friendly spawn beacon. This honestly sounds like the best trait in the whole game so far. I mean, comparing it to something like running faster when you're wounded, this one actually allows you to move around the entire map with the power of pretty much your whole team. And if DICE doesn't alter this ability, I can see it becoming a required class archetype in pretty much every squad just for the spawning potential. Imagine your squad gets wiped and then the Recon class spawns on another friendly squad across the map. Then your squad mates spawn on you. You could easily turn one squad into 2 or 3 or 4 depending on how many squads have this archetype available to them. The potential here is just incredibly powerful. Now imagine a team of recons with this ability to spawn just about anywhere on their team or around the map. Sounds pretty damn powerful. The second trait for this archetype is called Vanguard, which gives you additional requisition points when somebody spawns on your spawn beacon, encouraging you to use that gadget more. The blog post also further clarifies weapon types that each class will have access to. Recon will get access to bolt-action rifles and self-loading rifles. You could think of them as DMRs. We had one in the beta, which was a 2-shot kill, very powerful and very good weapon. The Assault class gets assault rifles and also semi-auto rifles. I expect the semi-auto rifles for the Assault to be more in line with what we saw in the beta, so faster firing than the Recon's DMRs, but probably like 3 or 4 shot kills versus the Recon's 2-shot kill rifle. That might actually get nerfed for the final game. We'll have to see what DICE does with it. The Medic class seems like it's still just getting SMGs, which again I find a bit disappointing. I hope that at some point they get an alternative to this, or at least some SMGs that are a bit more effective at further ranges. It's just hard having played the original Alpha Medic with the Assault classes like semi-auto rifles, and now they're just getting stuck with SMGs, but we'll have to see if this ever changes over time. Support gets both light machine guns and medium machine guns. If you played the alpha of Battlefield 5, you'll remember that there was a medium machine gun that when equipped you couldn't actually aim down sight unless you were bipoded, so you'd have to mount the machine gun on a wall or go prone before you could ADS, and the hipfire was god awful. This was removed from the beta, so it's likely that DICE is probably reworking the mechanics of the medium machine guns, and I'm very curious to see what they ultimately come up with. We know that the MG42 is going to be one of these weapons as seen in the reveal trailer. So obviously some of these more iconic weapons have to actually be somewhat effective or players are never going to use them. Anyway, we now have some concrete examples of archetypes that will be in the game at launch. There's probably going to be a bunch more archetypes down the road, giving us more class variety and ways to play our own classes, and I like the archetype system. It's cool, it's not like super original or creative, but it's a good way of sort of differentiating classes into more specified roles, and it's cool. I do think DICE will need to look at some of these abilities and refine them a bit, maybe even before launch, as some of them on paper I can already tell are going to be abused or overpowered or something. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about all this new information in the comments down below. Do you like the new archetype system? Are you excited for it? Which ones are you going to use? And I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.